why Wall Street? And then like, what was your vision there getting into that game? I mean, like, it's just you had to at the time?
No vision. No vision. It was a necessity. I wasn't willing to let my shops fail. And I had to pay bills. Like I had basic bills. So I just needed, to me, it was like a bridge loan, right? It was just like, I just need to make a little bit of money for a little period of time till I can get back to my, what I would call the fantasy perfect world, like pro snowboarder, running snowboard, skateboard shops.
Wearing a sweatshirt.
I was living like the dream. And when I got into Wall Street, it was always meant to just be this part-time thing. This like, I'm just going to do this for a little bit. And I remember I'd put the suit on and just to mentally get myself over it. So you probably have heard of the company Volcom. I always still wear their stuff. Well, Volcom made suits. So because I didn't feel comfortable wearing suits, I had the shops. So I remember I found Volcom suits and I got them so that just so I could feel normal. I'm like, I got a Volcom suit on. It's okay. I'm still a snowboarder. I'm not selling out to be Wall Street. But here's the thing. When I got into the office, I was pond scum. You've seen the movies, right? I was in the center. All the phones are ringing. My job, answer the call, connect one of these guys. It was just like what you've seen. No different. But what I saw, you see, I was part of this, they call it a new org. I was one of the new guys, you just get crapped on the whole time. But I watched these guys on the outside that made hundreds, if not maybe millions of dollars. And I watched them intently. They'd get there 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Wow. They'd leave for 2 hours on lunch. Watch this. I'm like, when are they ever coming back? I'm just sitting here ready to work. And then they'd be gone 4:35, 5 at the latest they were out. And I'm like, wait a second. If I want one of those corner offices, man, all I got to do is do what they're unwilling to do. I started getting there at 7. I got all my prep work done before the bell rang. Then lunches, when they went, man, I hit the phones. And guess what? People answered because they were on lunch break. They answered their phones. Then when everybody left, I got ready and I went out and saw people at their kitchen tables. I just went out in the field where everybody else was like, oh, I'll pound the phones and maybe have the clients come in. Oh, there's the conference rooms. People want to be talked to with their family at their kitchen table. I started doing that. I wasn't the only one doing it, but I did the most, man. I didn't have a family. I had a desire. And I finally, for the first time in my life, started making real money. My first year, I made 74 grand. Now, I know that doesn't seem like a lot. In 2003, for a 23-year-old, dude, I was crushing it. And I bought a house. And then the next year, I made over 100. The next year, I made like 150. And it just went north from there. So all of a sudden now, I'm like, I'm making real money. And I had articles in papers like showing like I'm in a suit, but I'm in my skateboard shop. I was making this transition. I was still trying to hold it together, but I was so used to working in my shop. But now I'm working in Wall Street. You can't work in your shop and in Wall Street. So I learned one of the most important things any business owner can learn. And I hope your audience listens. If you're going to get something out of this, like, yeah, we'll talk about cool stuff, but this is it. If you can just do what other people are unwilling to do, and not only that, if you can stop working in your business and start working on your business, it will skyrocket. I was forced to do that. I had to take guys that worked for me and I had to make them managers, which was hard because nobody could do anything as good as me in the shop. And that was a bad mindset. I grip skateboards the best. I tune snowboards the best. I folded shirts the best. But then all of a sudden I had my managers and they did it better. And I saw this and I'm like, wow. I'm going to stop working in the shop and I'm just going to work on it. Marketing. I started making videos and we did a video production. That was the smartest thing I could have ever done. My shops skyrocketed in sales and I wasn't there.
Delegating is hard though for people.
That was forced. I would have never been able to do that if I stayed in my business.
But why do you think entrepreneurs struggle delegating so much? Like, ego.
It's the only word I have for it, man. You think nobody can do what you do. You think nobody's as good as you are. And maybe there isn't anybody that's as good as you, but there's somebody almost as good. And if you empower them to be better than you, then they will be.
Yeah.
Like I'd say, in some cases, Devin's better than me, but he learned from me. And that's the best thing. When I go from, being the teacher to being the student, I've succeeded.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, people don't want to let go, right? And they don't know how to let go. I think that's another one too. Like I think I've met people who I think get to a point where they're ready to let go, but then there's all this knowledge that they have. They got to figure out how to hire, how to train, how to actually like literally how to delegate. It's one thing to be ready to delegate. It's another thing to figure out how do I delegate, right? And I've screwed that up a million times. We all have. I mean, dude, like I've royally messed that up, and burnt, just, hired and fired a lot of people and like you have to go through it. But what would your suggestion be to that entrepreneur who, like, how do they shortcut that? Is there a way to shortcut that? I mean, are there books you can read or things that you can do to shortcut the learning curve?
Well, of course, there's books and podcasts and YouTube channels, but I think the best way to do it is really just look at your business and look at the things that you do that somebody could be hired to do for less than you're willing to do it. And then just bring people in to start doing those little things. Stop thinking that you have to do everything. Like people mow their lawns and they hate mowing their lawns. Then why do you mow your lawn? You could hire someone for $20 an hour to mow your lawn. Are you worth $20? Because if you're mowing your lawn, you're admitting that's it. In your business, there's things that you could hire somebody at $20 an hour to do. And if you're doing it, you are literally admitting that you're only worth $20. And your mind doesn't know the difference. Until you tell your mind what you're worth, and here's the thing, your time has no value. It's priceless. When you put a dollar value to your time, you're already limiting the amount of wealth you can build.
So true.
Your time is priceless. And until you start realizing that you can always make more money, but it will usually come at the cost of your time, and your time is priceless, that's when you'll start making the switch. You'll start realizing what the wealthy do. The wealthy don't work for money. Like I don't even like to think that I work for money. Man, my money works for me. But I had to first work to then get the money. And then once I had the money, and I had small amounts, I'm not talking about a lot because your audience is probably like, yeah, well, you had the money.
Easy for you.
When I saved my first 10 grand, I sent that 10 grand to go to work. That's one thing I've always done. Been a great saver. My mother taught me to be a good saver. And small amounts turned into bigger amounts, but it took time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm gonna get off topic, but one mistake this generation's making, and I think a lot of people are making, is they're all trying to get rich quick. And they're trying to act rich. If you're getting rich quick, you're gonna be the next poor person. And I'm being totally honest. Your money will flee you. Wealth, the difference between rich and wealthy is wealthy means you have figured out how not to give your money back. When you can figure that out and you can actually practice what you preach, then you'll get my attention. But if you're playing the rich game just because you got the fancy shoes, the watches, the clothes, let me see your personal financial statement. You probably got nothing. But I make a lot of money. Until you don't, until you lose your job, until your business isn't making money, until things shut off. Then what? Then where are you? Your money isn't working for you. You're still working for money.
So true.
Sorry to get passionate.
No,
about
you're
that.
good. You should be passionate. You know, if you're somebody who wants to start investing, right? Like they hear you talk about that, but they want to do that, right? Like, and maybe they're either making good money right now or they run a company. Like, where do they go? Where would you suggest that they go to start doing that? You know, to start investing, even if it is a small amount of money. Like, how do you go from making a bunch of money to building wealth?
There's 6 laws to wealth. And I don't want to get too deep into them, but they've been around since the beginning of time. And anyone can read The Richest Man in Babylon. It lays them out, but you probably won't be able to understand that book the way it's written. So I've come up with 6 laws that apply today. First, if you're making any kind of money, how much are you actually keeping of that money? And people don't understand that. So let me rephrase it. How much are you saving? If you're saving anything less than 10% of your gross income, you are failing yourself. You are failing yourself. Oh, but I live paycheck to paycheck. Oh, but I got to make more. Well, then go make more. Get a second job. Work weekends. I don't care what you got to do. Do it. Because if you don't, somebody else is, and you're going to be the one saying, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. Because the largest opportunity of all of our lifetimes is right around the corner. This recession will present itself very soon, and this recession will open the door for the biggest opportunities. 2008 will look like a pimple on an elephant's ass compared to what this is going to be, which means it's going to be an opportunity, but only for people that prepared for it. First step, you got to save, man. You got to save 10% of what you make.
You got to live below your means in order to do that too, right? Yeah,
100%. Yep. So skimp on what you're doing so you can save 10%. If you're anything less, then stop. I can't tell you anything more. The second thing you got to do is as you're saving and you build up a little bit, that money's got to go to work for you. And I'll give you an example when we get into infinite banking, what it is, but I want to show you how you can build wealth through your own debts and expenses. And that's something not a lot of people teach because there's no money in it for them, but I want to teach that. So your money has to work for you. So you have worked for money and you've saved 10%. Second law, you make your money go to work for you. And we'll get deeper into that. Third law, you got to learn how to protect your wealth, which means you got to invest in things, only things that you know, like, and understand. So what is it that you know, like, and understand? That's what you put your money into. You don't put your money into crypto or Bitcoin or Ethereum if you know nothing about it. Because if you do, you're not going to have that money anymore. That's the simplest thing. So protect your wealth. Fourth law is don't seek unrealistic returns. This generation is terrible with this. They're always shooting, oh, I want the home run. I want the home run. Babe Ruth struck out more than anyone else in baseball. Yes, he was a home run king, but how many times did he strike out? You can't make it if that's how many times you're going to strike out. So hit base hits.
So
I
true.
tell people like how I built my wealth. I'm a professional penny and nickel picker-upper. That's what I do.
I love that.
So don't seek unrealistic returns or your money will flee you. The fifth thing is the most important thing. This is just how we all should live our life. You have to give. And you have to give generously. A lot of people are like, oh, yeah, if you give, you get. Well, forget about the get. You give first. You give unconditionally. And if you don't got money to give, make people smile. Go out and make people laugh. Open doors for people. Do the little things. The universe will reward you and it will come back. Final, you got to create a legacy. And people are like, oh, well, I'm not dying anytime soon. Your legacy starts now. Your legacy isn't the money in the bank, isn't the car in the garage, isn't the house you live in. Your legacy is what you are remembered for when you're gone. How did you make people feel? How many people thanked you? How many people's lives did you change? How many problems did you solve? If you're not focused on any of those, you're never going to be wealthy. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
So then once you figured the laws out, each one of those then takes a different step and different methods of how you can do that. Investing, I put zero money in the stock market right now. And I tell people to get their money out of the stock market because it's about to go down.
And you worked in Wall Street for a long time.
Yeah, and I hate Wall Street. And I'll tell everybody Wall Street's one of the biggest lies you've ever been taught. Well, second to the banking industry.